going on, guys? Today we're taking a look at Transformers Generations Voyager class Byte. Pick this up at BigBadToyStore.com. The figure, well, he's an interesting figure. Now, I apologize for using my Lazy Susan from my kitchen as, well, the turntable kind of met a horrible demise, we'll say. But here we have the figure. Now, the first thing I need to tell you is Byte is pretty badly mistransformed in the box. His arms are slightly mistransformed. The armor pieces up here on his back are mistransformed, and his legs are mistransformed. So it's really good to, when you get this guy out of the box, hold your judgment and get him transformed correctly before you make any real opinions. As when I pulled him out of the box, I was really unimpressed with this guy. Overall, though, I have to say the robot mode is striking. Getting him into a good position for him just standing there, he really looks quite good. The dark blue, the yellow, and the silverish gray work really well. The powder blue shark nose, I would like to be a different color, but oh well. I think is actually a decently proportioned figure, but there are some problems. I really do like the backpack here, and one little bit of interesting, well, factoid I'll let you know. There's a peg hole right here for a figure stand. I don't know how big of a peg hole that's going to be. It definitely won't fit a Figma, but I'm going to dig up the Tamashii web stands that I have. I think they're around here somewhere, and see how that works with him. Byte's head sculpt is fan-freaking-tastic. This is probably one of my favorite head sculpts from the Generations line. It's just a wonderfully nice shark-themed head sculpt. Just really, really nice. My only complaint really with the head is he's constantly staring straight down to the top of his chest, which is just odd. You really don't get a good look at the head sculpt because he's always looking kind of down. Just very, very weird. Even though the figure looks very good, I have some real problems with this robot mode, and that specifically has to do with just the way he's been engineered and part of the transformation, so there's really nothing you can do about it. First off is his right arm. Because of the way it transforms, it is overly loose, and the forearm has a tendency to open up pretty easily. That's part of the transformation, but again, very loose. There's no real wrist or ball joint in the wrist to speak of, so you turn the arm and he looks like he's panhandling. I don't like that, but he does have an articulated thumb, so he's meant to hold something, but there's nothing to hold on here. The other issue has to do with his legs. Because of the way the legs are engineered to transform, they're not very sturdy at all. In fact, the knees are loose / almost non-existent in stability terms. More on that in a second. I do want to show you the feature of this figure, though, in robot mode first, and that has to do with his left arm. You could push this one little button here to spin his arm, or you could push the firing mechanism to shoot his missile. The missile goes a whopping 3 feet in distance. His fin claws do open for the blue and the silver part. These gold pieces of plastic are molded solid plastic. Going back and taking a look at the legs again, this is the right leg stretched out behind the figure. So there's his butt. Look at this little component here. Because of the way he transforms, the knee actually is several different components. You have your main pin, which is the pivot point. Then you have this secondary pivot point inside the back of the leg. And then you have this snapping point that is supposed to hold the leg together. Unfortunately, it does a pretty poor job of holding everything together, since just a slight bit of force will pop it out of that joint, or that peg. And I haven't been able to figure out a way to keep it stable or to keep it snapped into place. Because it's part of the transformation, it needs to be able to move easily. But in the robot mode, it comes undone way too easily. So you risk just making him fall over because of all the backpack kibble he's got going on up here. It's an overly top-heavy figure, and the knees just don't have the stability. Plus, it doesn't help that the left knee on my figure is way too loose. It's not to the point where it's just flopping around, but any real weight from the figure causes it to bend, so that is an issue. Unfortunately, I'm not sure how to fix that. I'm sure some customizers will come up with a better way to do the knees. This is the most dynamic pose that I was able to get out of the figure. It's not bad by any means, but for those of you guys out there that love to pose your figures really dynamically, you're going to have some issues with this guy. So I dug up the Figma stand that I have from some of the Kamen Rider Figma figures that I've got, and it works fine. It works really well as a matter of fact. He can stand much better with it, and it does give him better balance than without the stand. So you could get him posing. However, the stand's just too weak to have him standing straight up like that. Yeah, as soon as you touch it, he'll fall over. But it's nice to know that Hasbro included that little peg hole for a stand. Much appreciated. Skybyte's transformation is pretty darn complicated. It's not impossible by any means, but it isn't easy either. To start off with, we're going to go ahead and take the shark bit in his chest and pull it forward a bit, and then take the little Predacon symbol in his nose or chest and flip the whole unit around in the right direction to form the nose of the shark. Then push that all the way down to his knees. Turn the head around, push that up into the chest until it locks into place. Next, we'll take the arms and push these little fins on his shoulders up and take the one arm that is overly loose, in my opinion, open up that forearm and fold up his hand, and then take the other arm and point it forward and turn both arms so that those little fins that are popping out of his shoulders are pointed towards the front of the figure. Then reach around the back and fold out the shell, and then bring the arms up, making sure that you avoid the shell, which is pretty hard to do in all honesty. Now, when we've got the left arm straight up, we want to turn it around such that the gray piece, the gray thing that makes the tail spin, is pointed towards the front of the robot mode, and then just kind of put that down at the elbow. Then take the other arm and turn it so that the yellow little cannon is pointing towards the front, and then fold that up and get it around the shell, and then peg it into the other arm, the other upper arm, like that. And then we could take the whole unit and slide that back, and this will cover the head. Then the tail will come up and kind of sit in place. It doesn't really peg into place, it just kind of sits there bent at an angle like that. Next, take the backpack part here and fold that up and just keep the armor bits flayed out like that. Next, we'll come up to the, well, what will be the mouth of the shark. Take the front fins and fold them so that the curved side is pointing at the bottom of the figure. Come to the legs and first kind of fold the legs. Next, we'll start from the back of the figure, and what we're going to do is pop the knee, that little knee joint I was talking about, out, and then fold this up and just get it up and in, kind of like that. It looks weird, I know, but it's what you're supposed to do because you're supposed to collapse the legs up into the sections, and I am doing this wrong because this hinge is supposed to peg in right at the back of the foot. So we want it to go like this and bend it up like that. So you want to collapse it down like that. And then bring these, what were the shin guards, together and bring all of this, fold it all up, and then bring the panels around and bring the head down and slide the fins inside the panels. And then the rest of this is just getting all the panels lined up. This is more of an exercise in frustration than anything. So you can see how everything is going to go, but I'm going to go ahead and do this off camera because you don't need to hear me swearing that much. And here we have the shark mode for Byte. And I have to admit, I like this shark mode a lot. I think it looks really, really good. The techno-organic look to the figure is quite nice. My only real complaint, other than the fact that you really do need a stand for him in this mode, is we really haven't had a shell former in a long time. So I had forgotten how fiddly they become. Just the panels on this guy pop off very, very easily. Too easily, in fact. But on a stand, he looks quite nice, and I think I'm going to display him like this. As you see, I am using a Figma stand for him, and it works with no problems. It is a little bit wobbly, but that's just the way the Figma stands are. The figure itself is actually quite heavy on the stand, so you do need to be aware of that. And you do have to have some patience for resetting all the floppy bits. One thing that I absolutely detest about the shark mode is this back component. It's part of the arm component and his tail fin. It doesn't actually peg in. It just flops back and forth, and I wish it would peg in, but I could see why it doesn't. That would cost Hasbro more money. Oh well, I can deal. The other thing, I just have issues with all these panels. They just pop in and out of place at will. He's a very, very fidgety figure, we'll say. But on just the ground, well, that just looks dumb. Like I said, you need a stand for this guy. I do like this figure. I actually like this figure quite a bit. And I really got to give Hasbro a lot of credit. They've put a lot of good engineering into this guy. It doesn't all work all that great, especially with the knees, but overall it's not awful. We've definitely seen worse engineered figures, and I'm really happy with the Generations line so far. Once you figure out how to transform this guy, it becomes pretty easy, though as you saw, it is a little bit complicated getting him into shark mode. Getting him out of shark mode's a lot easier, as you see right now. It pretty much just unfolds by itself, which is a little bit disconcerting, but it's not that bad in all honesty. And we need more interesting figures. We need more unique figures, and this guy's definitely one of them. As I said, I picked it up at BigBadToyStore.com. I hope you guys go over there and pick one up for yourself, because I think it's worth having in your collection, even with all of his issues. As usual, guys, I've been Baltmatrix, and I'll catch you next time.